Hey guys, and welcome to this Facebook Live. Today, I am excited to talk to you about this topic because I know that it's something that a lot of you guys had questions about and issues with. So I'm excited to dive in. And today, we are going to talk all about free shipping, what's going on with Etsy, what is happening with this new change, and how are we going to work around it and do the best for our shop. So if you are joining in live, I'm going to give you a few minutes, but I would love for you to say hey, introduce yourself. Let me know if you had any specific questions. I do have a whole list of questions that people had asked ahead of time that I wanted to address. So if you have any additional questions, just let me know. So I want to just dive right into the topic. I never like to waste y'all's time, but again, if you do have questions, chime in as we go. I'm going to start off with the questions that people asked ahead of time. And yeah, you're welcome to join in. But okay, let me click over to my other thing really quick. Sorry. One second, sorry about this. All right. The first question that I got is, I do offer free shipping to the US because I like it when I buy something, but dang, it takes a big chunk of my income, and with fees and the fact that I like to donate a portion of my income, I really have to say I can't make my item more expensive either. I'm just stuck with not so great sales. Hey, Denise. Okay, so I got this question or a variation. Another variation on this was, I can't raise my prices. I'm concerned about the cost of shipping. I'm not able to, I can't make my item more expensive. So this one, I kind of wanted to go at it from a mindset standpoint rather than the actual shipping, which I know people like generally are like, I don't really want to talk about mindset, but it's really important because what I'm seeing is that people are saying over and over again, I can't raise my prices. Nobody's going to pay more for my item. I can't build the shipping into it. And I challenge you, I think, in that to say, why do you feel like nobody is going to pay more for your item? Why do you feel like this is like you have reached the absolute pinnacle of what your pricing is? And I ask this because I think that with a strong enough SEO plan and really getting your items found in the search and then really making your brand stand out on the platform, you can be more expensive than everybody else, even if you offer something that is really similar to what other people offer. And so I actually was looking over my own listings this past week in regards to all this information that came out. And I had one product that I sell really well that I do not offer. I have not been offering free shipping on it. And as I was looking, I was trying to look and see what my competitors were doing, which I think is really important in your pricing strategy and in your strategy around free shipping in general. But this is a product that is literally the exact same thing. I buy it from a wholesale manufacturer. I add the monogram. There are tons of other shops on Etsy who do the exact same thing. They buy it from the same supplier, the same wholesaler. They add the monogram. So this is, needless to say, not a one-of-a-kind item, but it's not even a particularly unique item. And I was pricing mine at $22 with $4.50 shipping. I saw listings when I searched for that same price or that same item. I saw listings on there that were $15 with free shipping. And those shops did not have more sales. In fact, I mean, I sell thousands and thousands of dollars worth of this item. And so to me, what that says is, I mean, there could be a few factors at play, like those could be newer shops or whatever, and that's not something that they can change. But what that says to me is that there are other things that people are going after, either the speed of how fast you ship or your customer service or the community that you've built up. I have a big Instagram following. There is something else at play that people are not buying solely based on the price. So when people tell me, I can't raise my prices, I am at the absolute max, I say, I don't really think that that's true. And I think that because I have these items in my shop that I have continued and continued and continued to raise prices on, and it's never maxed out. And so I think that people are undervaluing what they're doing, and they're not valuing the uniqueness of what they're offering. And that is a mindset block that a lot of people struggle to work around. They say, maybe even what it boils down to is that you yourself wouldn't pay more for that item. But that doesn't mean that your customer's not going to. And so you need to be able to differentiate those two and say, in a more unemotional way, I guess, like, do some testing, put it out there, even maybe between now and July 30th when this goes into effect, because it doesn't go into effect until July 30th. So we have like not quite 3 weeks. Maybe do some testing. This is not like a great amount of time to be able to do testing and really see results, but put up a listing with free shipping, put up a listing without free shipping, and see which one sells better. See how it works. See which one gets more views. See which one gets more favorites, all of those things. So test your products. So there was a second question on that saying that somebody emailed me and said kind of the same thing. My biggest issue is how can I offer free shipping without losing money? I sell candles and I already have padded some of my shipping costs into my prices. How can I offer free shipping without making the cost of my product astronomical? So I actually went and looked at this person's shop because I think she told me the address of her shop in the email. And it was a 10-ounce candle with $8 shipping. So if that person is here, let me know. But my response to that is a 10-ounce candle with $8 in shipping, to me, says that you're shipping that item with priority mail. And so I would, especially if you're already building in some of the costs, I actually don't really know why the shipping costs would be that expensive, even with priority mail. So I would really encourage this person and all people who are struggling with the idea of free shipping to explore your shipping options. Make sure that you totally understand the different options that are available to you with Etsy labels, with the post office, all of those things. So maybe this person is shipping priority mail via the post office counter. They're walking into line, they're writing out a label, they're shipping it that way. You can save a huge amount of money, first off, by shipping first class mail. Secondly, by shipping with Etsy labels, because Etsy has commercial rates for shipping, whereas if you go to the post office, it's going to be significantly more expensive. I can't remember the exact numbers of what it is, but I know when you ship at the lowest rate of priority mail for commercial rates, it's like right around $7 for your zone that you're in. So if you're shipping, like I'm in North Carolina, I'm shipping to North Carolina or South Carolina, it's going to be like right around $7 for a package that's like 1 pound or a little bit more. For a 10-ounce candle, it shouldn't even really be a pound, but even if it was over that 1 pound limit, it would be really close to that. So there's no reason, if this person is charging $8 for shipping and they're padding in some of those costs, there's some disconnect there. And what I found a lot of times is that people they're shipping things priority mail that don't need to be going priority mail. And that's another difference with Etsy shipping as well. The shipping labels is that if you take your package to the post office and you want to mail it at the post office, they're going to make you upgrade to priority mail after 13 ounces. With Etsy labels, you can go up to 16 ounces and still ship it first class mail. So again, like I would really encourage you to look into the different shipping options. If you're saying my items are just straight up, it's too expensive and I can't do it. I know that people will pay more than $16 for a candle. So work on getting those shipping costs down. And I think that profit margin will work a lot better. So I hope I answered that question. So somebody says, my items are 80% one of a kind and all way different. So the shipping costs across the country is very different. This is a tough one because that is a totally legit issue. If you live, let's say you live in New Jersey, and so shipping is going to be the most the cheapest, I guess, or the most cost effective for people who live in the middle of the country, because your zones are going to go out from the middle of the country and it's going to be evenly spaced. For those of us that live on one coast or the other, it gets a lot more expensive to ship coast to coast. So for me to ship to California is a lot more expensive than it is to ship to the East Coast. So for somebody that sells one-of-a-kind items, and this also goes, somebody else asked, hang on, let me see where it is. My items are heavy and large, so the out-of-pocket cost for shipping are already really high. I'm on the very high end price-wise compared to my competition, and I cannot charge more. So I already addressed the I cannot charge more part of that. But so if you are selling one-of-a-kind items that weigh different things, or you have very heavy items, and so it's just straight up expensive to ship them, I would do a couple things. First off, I would look at your competition. You always want to be aware of what your competition is doing. And just like with every other thing that Etsy does, they are saying that they're going to give priority to shops that give free shipping for their items, or they're going to give priority to shops that offer free shipping over $35 minimum purchase. That doesn't mean that that's the be all end all of everything, that like your shop is completely defunct if you don't offer free shipping. You're still in control of your shop, and you still have that option to say, I don't want to do this. I don't want to deal with this. But you have to understand that you're going to make it harder on yourself by not doing that, because you are not going to get that automatic boost that Etsy is giving to those shops. But I do want to say that, I mean, people say like, well, I don't even have any options anymore. I can't do this. I quit. And you do have options. It's just going to require you to drive more traffic to your shop yourself instead of relying solely on the Etsy search. But putting that aside, if you offer really heavy or one-of-a-kind items, I would look at what your competition is doing, because if you sell, for example, furniture, and nobody else in your industry is offering free shipping across the board, that's not something that people are doing, they're not jumping on that bandwagon, then it's not really going to be as much of an issue for you. Etsy is ranking these results in comparison to other things in that same category with those same keywords, in relation to things that are similar to them. So if you sell a chair and it's going to cost, or it's going to be like 20 pounds to ship it, and you're compared to other people who are selling chairs and nobody else is offering free shipping, then it doesn't matter. You're not competing with other people who are offering free shipping. So there's nobody to move up and get that boost in the search, because nobody's doing it. So it is important to be aware of what other people in your industry are doing. If you sell things that are a lot lighter or a lot smaller or whatever, and they're easier to offer free shipping, chances are your competition is going to be doing that. And in that case, I would, especially with the one-of-a-kind items, I would look into kind of looking at it from a holistic perspective. So rather than saying like, on this one item, I'm losing $5 in shipping, and on this one item, I'm making $5 on shipping, look at it as a general rule. My pricing strategy with shipping forever, since I opened my shop, has always been to try, and this was long before free shipping was even really a thing. I don't really know when Amazon Prime got to be really popular. I don't remember it being popular in 2012, which is when I opened my shop. But before people really started expecting free shipping with Amazon and with all of that, my strategy always was to keep my shipping costs as low as humanly possible, while still like semi breaking even on it as a general rule. So I have products that for years I charged $4 in shipping, and it's cost me $7 to ship it. And so I'm building in some of that cost into the price. I'm taking a hit on some of it. And I was still charging them. But then I had other products that I would charge $4 in shipping, and it only cost me $2.50 to ship. And so I sort of made up that price. So if you have one-of-a-kind items and you say, I can't possibly break even on the shipping with this, then I think you need to look at it as a whole. Maybe there are items that are really underpriced, and you could add in enough to cover some other things that are going to lose a little bit more money. Or look at your pricing strategy as a whole. You need to be able to make sure that you can have those profit margins. And if you're barely scraping by, then that price is not going to work for you as a business. And again, if the issue is that the item is really, really heavy, then your competitors are going to be running into the same thing. So either the prices across the board in that industry are going to rise, in which case you then can raise your prices too, and you'll still be in line with the rest of your competition, or they're not going to offer free shipping, and nobody's really going to be offering free shipping, and so it doesn't matter, and it's not an issue that you have to deal with. Okay, so I hope I answered that question. The next one that I got asked was, and this is something I wanted to talk about anyway, my biggest hangup is probably that I would not want to offer free shipping, offer international shipping if I have to offer free shipping. Would it hurt me to do free shipping to only US customers and charge international shipping? If it would hurt, I would be less likely to offer international shipping at all. Okay, so here is what Etsy has to say. Here's what Etsy has to say about the international situation. If you are a seller outside of the US, there won't be any changes to how free shipping affects search placement when buyers outside of the US search on Etsy. You may want to consider how much of your business comes from the US when deciding if a free shipping guarantee for US shoppers is right for you. So what that says to me, and what that should say to you, is if you are an international seller and you are selling to other people who are not based in the US, so let's say you're based in France and you're selling primarily to people in the EU, then none of this really applies to you. And so you don't really need to worry about that if your main customer base comes from outside the US. If you are based in France and the majority of your customers are in the US, the most people that you're selling to are in the US, what they're saying is you may want to consider how much of your business comes from the US when deciding if a free shipping guarantee for US shoppers is right for you. So they're saying if the majority of your buyers are from the US, then you need to be offering free shipping to US buyers. Now, for people who are based in the US, as long as you are offering free shipping to people in the US, the international shipping thing, it doesn't have to change. Nothing has to change about that. Etsy is not saying that you have to offer free shipping to international buyers. That seems a little bit unfair, and it is a little bit unfair to the people who are based overseas, because it does make it harder for you if you have to offer free shipping to people in the US. Although I've heard that people like in the UK, that the shipping costs are not really that high. I don't know if that's true or not. But yeah, so if you are based in the US and you are worried about having to ship internationally for free, that is not something that you have to worry about. Your international shipping doesn't change. And when you offer free shipping on your listings, there is a way to click free shipping for the US. When you go to like your shipping settings or your shipping profiles, you can go on there and you can say ship to the US, priority mail, first class mail, whatever, free shipping. And then you can say to Canada, it's this amount, to the Europe, it's this amount, whatever. So you can add those upgrades. And again, that's probably not going to cost, that's not going to cover all of the costs of shipping that package. So if you, let's say your item is $20 and it costs you $6 to ship it in the US, and you offer that as free shipping. So your item is just going to be $20 then. And then you say, but to Canada, it's $10. It may still cost you more than $10 because it is more, you know, it's a lot more expensive to ship overseas. So I do have places where I end up losing the money on the international shipping, but it's because that US shipping price was already built in. So you don't have to say, so, okay, I don't think this example is making sense. I don't think I'm explaining this well. So let's say you had that item at $14 and then you ended up putting it at $20 because you wanted to build in the cost. So what you're saying then is that $6 is built into that $20. So then when you look at that international shipping cost, you only need to be adding above and beyond what that $6 that's already built into that is. So like I have items that the cost to ship it to Canada may be $10, and it ends up costing me $15 or $16 to actually ship it to Canada, but that $5 or $6 extra was already built into the price because that's how much it would have cost me to ship to the US anyway. I hope that makes sense. I hope I explained that well. All right, let me go to the next question here. I did have a couple people that asked me about digital items, and this is something that's not going to really impact digital items at all because there are no shipping costs anyway. In fact, I don't even think, last I can remember from looking at a digital listing, they didn't even ask you for anything related to shipping. So the only way that would matter with digital items is if you do have some items that are physical that you end up shipping, or you maybe want to offer some items as like the printed version or something, and then maybe you do like free shipping over $35. Another question, which I didn't write down, but I remember the person asked me was, What if you have lower priced items? Like let's say you have items that are, let me think here. A supply would be one example, or a pair of like costume type jewelry that's not very heavy and it's not very expensive. It's like costume jewelry. So maybe it costs $5 for a pair of earrings. How do you build free shipping into that? So either you raise your prices, or you could do the, I mean, Etsy has said that the free shipping over $35 is fine. That's fine for them. So you don't have to do free shipping on every single item. If you sell $2 or $3 items, then put free shipping at $35. They have to buy a whole bunch of stuff to get free shipping, or else they have to pay for shipping. And you're still getting that priority shipping boost. So, you know, if you sell a $3 item and they have to buy $35 worth, that's a pretty big sale for you to be able to have the free shipping. And they do say that that increases their people's buying. And I mean, we can all relate to those times that you've been shopping online and then you say like, oh, all I have to do is add $4 more to my cart and I'll get free shipping and it'll end up being the same price overall. And the next thing you know, you're like an hour down the rabbit hole of looking for things to add to your cart to make for free shipping. So if you do sell those lower priced items, I would encourage you to do the free shipping over $35 rather than on the individual listing if that's something that you're worried about and you're worried about those profit margins. Let me scroll down in the comments here so I can read what people are saying. Maggie says, sorry I could not find you and missed the beginning. Did you say something about large items? I did talk about the large items, Maggie. So you may want to go back and look at that in the replay, and I will have this as a replay on the website. But basically, to sum that up, was it really depends on your competition at that point. When you have items that are cost prohibitive to ship, it really ends up depending on your competition, because if the rest of the people in your space are not offering free shipping, then you're not competing against that. Maggie also said, my concern is that sometime Etsy will force all of us to ship for free. Okay, so my take on this is that Etsy's never going, I mean, I don't really know how they would force it. I think that this is their version of forcing it. And I said this in the podcast before any of this came out a few months ago, that I thought that they would basically pigeonhole sellers into doing this by saying, if you don't offer free shipping, your shop is not going to be, it's going to be bumped down in the search. That's kind of their way of forcing your hand, because they do have such a huge amount of market power in who they're directing to your shop. Like anybody who's worked on their SEO, anybody who's really, really mastered their SEO knows that that search power of Etsy is huge. So if they're saying you're not going to show up in the search, especially if you're in an industry where everybody else is going to be offering free shipping and you're just like the lone holdout and you don't want to do it, then it is going to hurt your shop. And it might come to a point where you're really not going to be found in the search. So again, that doesn't mean that you can't ever get found it doesn't mean that your shop is not going to be able to be successful on Etsy. At that point, it means you're going to have to do most of the traffic driving to your shop yourself, which is not a bad thing, but it's obviously not ideal if you're paying Etsy fees. The ideal way is to harness the power of their search and be able to utilize that, because they have millions and millions of people shopping on their platform. Okay. Mary Alice says, I do sell heavier items and would work in the shipping price to my listings. Do you think a customer would be willing to pay, say, an item with shipping included in the price at $100, or do you think they would buy from another shop with the same item that's less in price but shipping is not included? I think that it probably depends on how, okay, so what I think is going to happen up to this point, when you were all shown up in a search page, there was the little bar thing that said free shipping on the items that had free shipping. I don't know if they're planning on continuing to do that or not, but I think that it will. I mean, as consumers, all of us know that free shipping is not really free. So when you're comparing two very, very similar like items, and you say this one's $100 and you know it's free shipping because you saw on the search page that it's free shipping, and then this one is $90 but it's not free shipping, you're going to click through and look to see how much the shipping is. So if their shipping is like $2, somebody might buy that one because it's a little bit cheaper. But if all things are the same, and what Etsy's research has said and what market research in general says is that people are willing to pay more. So I guess that example wouldn't even really work, because what they've said is that people are willing to pay more for an item if there's free shipping than they are to pay less for an item and pay for shipping. So yeah, so I think if you have an item that's a heavier item and it's included in the price at $100, you're obviously selling things that are bigger or more valuable or whatever. $100 is not a super low price point, that they would expect the free shipping to be built into that, and that you could, you know, now if somebody is pricing it at $60 and they're charging $5 for shipping, $100 probably isn't going to work. It has to be like somewhat close to each other. But if there's only a $5 difference or like a lower amount in terms of how much more expensive yours is because the pricing or the shipping is built in, then I think that they're going to look at that total amount of cost and they are going to be willing to pay more for that heavier item with the free shipping built in. So Jamie says, I was wondering about the international stuff. So offering free shipping to just the US is still getting the boost. Yes, it is too, still. Okay, so Kristen, you are making a really good point, and I love that you said this. She says, she was replying to Mary Alice about the furniture, but she was saying, I'm wondering the same thing. I have a few items that go as high as $40 in shipping, and I don't know if my customers would be willing to pay that much more for the item. But then I keep going back and forth since they're paying that much anyway. And that is what it boils down to. They're paying that much anyway, whether they're paying $20 for an item and $40 in shipping, or they're paying $50 because you've taken a hit on some of that, or they're paying $60 because you built it into the price. They're paying the same thing. So the only way that they're paying less is if you like just totally eat the cost of the shipping, which I don't recommend. Etsy doesn't recommend. Nobody's expecting you to do that. So if you are building in the cost into that product and you haven't been before, but the price isn't actually changing, it's the same thing. I've actually done this in my shop. I did this probably, I think it's been about a year or so at this point. I talked about it a little bit in the fall, I think, but I ran an experiment with the exact same listing. And one of them was $40 with $6 in shipping, and one of them was $46 with free shipping. Exact same product, exact same listing. It was copied. The only thing I changed was that shipping. And I mean, I sold a lot of both of them, so I don't know that there was really a huge difference, but even if there's not a huge difference, that's the point. There's not a huge difference. People are not being like, oh my God, it's $46 now. Why is it so expensive? Actually, I had a lot of people email me and be like, what's the difference between the $40 quilt and the $46 quilt? Why is one of them more expensive? And that's when I said, it's because I was running this experiment to see which one sold better, which people usually then just picked whichever one they wanted. But that is the point, is that they're paying those costs anyway, whether somebody's buying that $40 quilt with $6 shipping or they're buying a $46 quilt, they're paying the same amount. So when you as the seller say, I don't think anybody's going to pay more for this item, they're not really paying more. They're paying what they always were paying anyway. It's just building it into the cost. All right. Jamie says, as a customer, I would see that the shipping is built in and still buy from you. I mean, like I said, we all know it's not free. Even Amazon shipping is not free. We're paying for Prime. So even Amazon is not saying it's free. You know, there's a lot of other benefits to Prime other than just the free shipping, but we all know that it's not free. It's just a marketing technique. It's the same reason people price things at $1.99. It's the same It's the same reason that your realtor tells you to price your house at $147 instead of $150. It's just a marketing technique. It's not anything that nobody's fooling anybody. Hey, Jennifer. All right. Chris, I think Kristen is saying this. I'm in Florida, so I totally get it. I was thinking about testing, but do you think if a customer sees this, they will feel like I'm tricking them? Well, I kind of answered your question with my my experiment. And I mean, maybe there were people who were looking at them and they didn't end up buying for me because they couldn't figure out what I was doing with pricing. But a lot of those people just messaged me and they said, why is this one $40 and this one's $46? They look the same to me. Is there a difference? That's what they would email me. Is there a difference between these two? Because they look the same. And that's when I would say they're both the same. You're paying the same price either way. It's just so either it's built in or it's not. And I don't think I ever had anybody who decided not to buy from me because of that. They always just picked whichever one they wanted to buy, and they ended up buying anyway. So I don't think people, as long as the price is the same. So I don't know that I would run this test and change it, which it also wouldn't be as accurate then if you changed it. But if you said, I'm going to do this one quilt for $40 with $6 in shipping, or I'm going to price this at $42 with free shipping. At that point, it's kind of not really that great of a test. First off, because you're testing two different things. The price is different and the shipping is different, but also because those people are really actually just paying more for the same thing. And then you could get people who are like, wait, I just looked at your shop and that exact same thing is listed for $4 less. And I don't understand. So you don't want to confuse people. You don't really want that to be for them to feel like you're like all over the place. But a lot of people are going to be coming into your shop directly through your listing. So they're not even necessarily going to be comparing listing by listing. And if they see the same listing multiple times in their shop, they're not analyzing it as much as you think they are. So, but I think more than anything, the most important part of that is how people are coming in through the search. And so it's good to do that testing so that you can see what makes people click more, what makes people favorite things more, what makes people actually convert into, you know, window shopping at all these different shops on their search to actually clicking into your shop and looking at your items. Because at that point, you have a much higher likelihood of converting them into a customer. All right. Christina says, this is my problem as well. I currently sell an item that weighs around 20 pounds and ships in a box 48 by 12 by 12 for $69.99. Problem is now USPS raised their prices on large boxes. So to ship from South Carolina from Texas was cost $53. Now it's $82. They raised it from $53 to $82. That's a lot. My competition sells similar items as low as $40 with free shipping. I tried raising my prices to $100 with $120 with free shipping, and customers started complaining that it was too expensive. Okay, first off, Christina, I think that you need to look into different shipping methods because I have never heard of USPS raising it from something like 53 to 82. That's a huge jump. So I don't know if that would be maybe a different kind of shipping, a different like speed of shipping or something. Maybe you also need to look at FedEx or UPS to see if maybe that would be a more cost-effective way of shipping it. Or looking at making sure you're using those Etsy shipping labels so that you can get those commercial rates. In terms of my competition sells similar items as low as $40 with free shipping, and you're charging $120. So I really think at that point that you need to look at what is your competition doing. If your costs are that high, so you want to sell your item for $120 and 80 of that is shipping. So you're only making $38. And that's not even including your supply costs and stuff. What is your competition doing that's allowing them to make the item so much cheaper than you? Are they buying from wholesalers? Are they using a different kind of material that's lighter and so it's not as expensive to ship? What are they doing that's allowing them to do that when it sounds like you feel kind of stuck in this shipping that's costing $83, which I agree, $83 is $82 is extremely cost prohibitive in terms of shipping that item. But if other people are doing it and they're selling it for $40 with free shipping, there's got to be a disconnect between what you're doing and what they are doing and how they're able to do that. Now, there are sellers on Etsy who just aren't making a profit. They don't know how to price their items. They don't know how to run a business, and they're not making any profit. But that's such a huge discrepancy between those two prices that I really think you need to look into see what are they doing that's allowing them to be able to do that. And still, especially if they are successful shops and they've been selling for a long time. So you have to assume that they're not like, they can't possibly be losing $80 every single sale because hopefully nobody would run that business for very long. All right. Lisa says, hello from Arkansas, and I just opened my Etsy shop and I'm trying to learn how to do everything. Well, welcome. You joined at a weird time in Etsy as they're just releasing these free shipping things. But honestly, this has been a long time coming. If you are new to Etsy, or if you are newer to Etsy, you've only been selling for a year or two, this is how the Etsy community freaks out every single time Etsy makes changes. So whether it's a change to your dashboard, or whether it's a change to the way that they do the SEO, the algorithm, they used to do it in terms of like recency. So the most recent listings were at the top of the search. Then they did relevancy, the most relevant ones. Then they incorporated artificial intelligence. It is always changing, and everybody always freaks out every single time. Since I started selling almost 7 years ago, and I can remember right when I started selling, right before that was when they had changed from recency to relevancy. And so everybody who'd been running businesses for years and years, and all they had to do was click renew. You know, they went through their listings and they clicked renew like 2 or 3 times a day. That bumped their item up to the search, the very top of the search, and they would sell it almost immediately. Click renew, sell it almost immediately. And that was their whole marketing. They had no marketing strategy. That was it. And then it changed to relevancy. So the most relevant items became more popular and higher in the search. And the Etsy community went nuts. And this was right as I was joining in. So I never experienced the recency. I never had that in my shop. So I was kind of like, well, I don't know. I mean, if they're looking for things that are more relevant instead of more recent, then you just have to figure out how to be more relevant, right? And so that's what I did, and that's what I worked on. And since then, I have seen Etsy go through so many changes and so many different things, from adding, you know, between 5 pictures to 10 pictures, and taking away PayPal and doing Etsy payments. And everybody is up in a complete tizzy every single time. So if you are new to Etsy and you're noticing that people are like all over the place, oh my gosh, how are these changes going to work? How is this going to happen? What is Etsy doing? Just know that this is normal when they release big changes like this. Mary Alice says, I have learned to just roll with the changes. Nothing we can do about it. I agree with you. And that is totally my mindset as well. Etsy's goal as a business is to make the most money that they can. They're a publicly traded company. They want to make more money, and they are making more money. They are making more money this year than they did last year. They're reporting higher profits year over year between this year and last year. That's good for all of us. So their goal is not to run your shop into the ground. Their goal is not to put you out of business. Their goal is to have more sales across the board. That doesn't mean that their goal is for your individual shop to have more sales. So I do want to make that, you know, caveat. But their goal is to have more sales across the board. So if you can hook into that and figure out how to work within that system and how to make those changes work for you, it is a beautiful thing, and both Etsy and you as the seller both benefit. Whitney says, I missed the first 30 minutes with this replay. Yes, I will have a replay on the page. All right. Kristen says, this might sound dumb, but can you explain how to use the Etsy shipping label? Like I just print them and put them on the box, then drop them off at UPS. Yes, you can. So there are a few different ways, Kristen. When I first started doing it, that's exactly what I did. You go in there, you click print shipping label or get shipping label or whatever. You need like a little kitchen scale. This is mine. If you have smaller items, especially, this is my little kitchen scale. It is literally like a Biggest Loser kitchen scale. But I don't ship heavy items, so I don't have to have a big scale. If you ship heavy items, you might need something that's a little bit bigger and like more substantial to hold your heavier items. This will only go up to like a couple pounds. But so you do that, you input how big the box is or the package that you're shipping it in, you click print, and you can print it off on any kind of like whatever, you know, normal printer. And then I would cut them out, tape them to the box. You're good to go. Drop it off at the post office. You don't even have to have them scan it in or anything unless you just want to. Then the next step for me was to upgrade from regular paper that I was cutting out and taping to the box to, you can get on Amazon label, or like, I'm sure you can get them anywhere. I get like everything on Amazon. So you can get ones that are like 2-page labels. So it's a normal like piece of paper, but it has 2 labels on there. And then you can print a label, and they're sticky. They're like self-adhesive. So they're like a sticker, and you peel it off, stick it on this package. Then the next step that I did, which I talked about this in the group a little bit, was this little thing, which I love, love, love. And that's my Dymo printer. And that prints out like actual, let me see if I can find one. I don't have one that messed up, but it prints out like actual little sticky label things. So I just click print, especially if you're selling the same thing over and over. Like I only have a few different items that I ship. So I have little shipping profiles in there that are set for a pound and a half a pound and whatever the weight of those items is. So I just click print, it goes to that, print the label, go. It is super easy. I encourage everybody to use them. If you're not familiar with them, play around with it. It will save you so much money, and it also saves you an incredible amount of time. Even if you are just using a normal desktop printer or whatever, even if you don't have like the fancy sticky labels and stuff, it saves you so much time to not handwrite every single box and then have to stand in line at the post office and whatever. You can even get your mailman to come and pick the packages up on your doorstep. Or if they're small enough, you stick them in your mailbox. So it's a huge, huge benefit. And those commercial shipping rates are super, way, way cheaper. Like I am flabbergasted when I actually ship things at the post office counter now, like personal things or whatever, because those commercial shipping rates are so much cheaper. All right, let me see. Whitney says, is it best to use calculated shipping? I've never used calculated shipping, so I'm not as familiar with calculated shipping because it has always been important to me, even long, long before these changes happened, to keep my shipping costs as low as possible. So I've always built in some of the costs into my products. So maybe this is why this is not like a freak out change for me, is because I've always had that mentality that people don't want to pay for shipping. So I've always tried to build some of it into the price. I would say that calculated shipping is probably not great at this point because it is going to end up with higher costs than a fixed rate shipping. I've also heard that calculated shipping can be really off when people are buying more than one item. It doesn't combine them well. It doesn't combine the weights well, I guess. So again, I don't really know a huge amount about calculated shipping because it's not really something that I've played around with a lot. I've always done flat rate shipping or free shipping. All right. Stephanie says, I'm actually really excited for this change. I've been in retail for over 15 years and I've gotten to see how internet shopping has began and evolved. And with our product at my store, we've increased prices of our clothing to offset other marketing sales tactics. I think it will all work and we'll figure it out as e-commerce continues to progress. See, okay, that's the thing. When people talk about shipping and how they can't build it into the price of the products and stuff, think about a brick and mortar store that you go into. They're building in the price, the costs of the product. Okay. They're building in the cost of doing business into the price of all of their products. The price of the product is not just, you're buying a book and that's how much the book costs. They're pricing in labor and employees and taxes and rent for the building and machinery like a cash register and everything. All of those things have to be accounted for in your business. So if your pricing strategy is so close to what it's actually costing you to run your business that you can't take a couple dollar hit, this is especially true if you ship lighter items, and you say, I can't add in $4 to the cost of my item because nobody's going to pay that, and I can't take a $4 hit because then I won't have any profit, then you really, really need to look at your pricing strategy because you're underpricing your products, or you need to figure out how to make them for cheaper so that you can have more profit margin, because it should not be that close. You should have at least a 50% margin on your products as a general rule. Not every single product is going to have that, but to be able to have a 50% profit margin in your shop as a whole, you're not even going to walk away with 50%. Then you're still going to have to pay taxes. Look at this machinery behind me. It has to get serviced. I had to buy it to begin with, which was like $10,000 a machine. There's a lot of costs involved in doing business that doesn't just happen. That's not just that one item that you're making that one time and shipping out with that one set of shipping costs. So you need to have a bigger picture strategy of how that pricing goes into effect and how you are going to be able to make those profits. I did want to read one more comment that I got from somebody that I really liked because because it is true and people really struggle to see it. But somebody wrote me an email and said, I have no issue with the change. I already changed my prices and started free shipping. I did a poll on my business page and more people voted that they'd rather pay more and have free shipping than pay less and pay for shipping, which I totally understand because I'm the same way. I'd rather pay a few dollars more for an item than pay for shipping. So this girl straight up asked her customers, do you want to pay more and have free shipping, or do you want to pay less and pay for shipping? And they said they'd rather pay more. So when people say, I can't raise my prices, nobody's going to pay that. Either you're wrong and you can raise your prices and people will pay that, or you need to start marketing towards a higher end customer who would be willing to pay that. But those customers are out there. People will pay crazy prices for things, and that there is always a market for a higher end good than what you're selling, especially if you're selling in the, especially if you're selling things that are under $20 or $30. There is always a way to increase the value of that so that people are seeing a higher value in that. Let me see. Laura says, hi, Lauren. My sister and I just started our Etsy stores and we realized that the PayPal shipping option gives a good discount on direct USPS shipping costs. Also, we determined that we need to be sure of what our shipping box weighs and measure, because guessing weight will end up biting you later. That is for sure true. And I would also say that that is 100% true with international orders. You really want to make sure that you have a good grasp on what it is actually going to cost you to ship internationally before you set those rates. I have had things that I charge like $15 for international, thinking like, well, I'm sure that'll be fine. And then it ended up costing me like $40 to ship it. And I was not prepared for that. Yes, so you definitely want to make sure that you have a good grasp on what your actual shipping costs are before you can build that in. The other part of that is we realized that the PayPal shipping option gives a good discount on direct USPS. Laura, if you're still here, are you talking about the PayPal Ship Now thing where you go into PayPal and print the shipping label off? There's a lag with the comments on here, so I'm hoping she'll answer me. So I think that's what she's talking about. I don't know if that would be, okay, yes. So yes, so there is a link if you Google like PayPal first class mail or PayPal shipping, it's like PayPal / a couple random letters and stuff, and then the end / part of it is Ship Now. Those are the same rates as the Etsy shipping label. So yes, they do give a huge discount. And if you, for some reason, wanted to print them off through PayPal versus Etsy, they give the same discount. So it's that same commercial rate. I have never found them to really differ. If they do ever differ, PayPal's a little bit more expensive than Etsy is. I've never had Etsy be more expensive than PayPal. But the only problem with that is that you're having to copy and paste the information from Etsy into the PayPal link, because you have to do it line by line, like the name and the address and the city and the zip code and all of that. So there's more margin for error, like user error, when you're copying and pasting it. With the Etsy labels, you just click print and it prints it exactly how the customer inputs it. So if that package ends up being returned to sender, you know that that's not an error on your part. That's the way that they inputted it into the system. So then that becomes on them. But yes, that is the same. So those commercial rates are a huge discount. You definitely want to be tapping into that resource, whether you do it through PayPal, if you prefer doing it through that for some reason, or through the Etsy shipping labels. Okay. So if anybody has any questions, I am still here to take questions if you have them. Otherwise, we can wrap it up. If you have any other questions at any point, let me know. I think that the thread in the Facebook group is still open for you to ask questions if you have any. I'm more than happy to answer them. Okay, Vicky says, for me, since I ship large boxes, the cheapest rates I found is retail ground, but you have to go into the post office and pay at the counter to get it. So I was actually just looking in. I've never used retail ground because I don't have big things. But I was just looking at this the other day because somebody else was talking to me about retail ground shipping, and I thought that I saw it as an option for the Etsy label. So hang on just a second. I'm going to try and pull this up and see if I can find it. So I'm going to say, okay, so So when I go into my shipping labels on the back end of my Etsy, there is an option for parcel select ground. I don't know if that is the same thing as retail ground. I am not as familiar with those shipping options for the heavier items because I haven't ever dealt in that industry. But, well, let me just try it really quick. All right. Let's say, Vicki, what kind of size box do you have and what kind of weight is it? If you could give me some details. While I'm waiting for you to answer, Lisa, my Etsy store is Funky Monkey Children. So it's etsy.com/shop/Funky Monkey Children, or you can go to funkymonkeychildren.com and it goes straight to my Etsy shop. So, I don't know if Vicki is still here. So I'm just gonna put in some, let's say this package is 15 pounds. And it's 30 by 30 by 30. Oh, it actually, okay, so that must be too big. Okay, so that parcel select ground is showing up as an option on here. Like I said, I'm not really sure what the difference between that. Okay, so here she is. Let me try that again. 22 by 22 by 8. And her package weighs 3 pounds. Okay, so when I go on there, it says the parcel select ground is $35. So I am guessing that what you're paying. So I'm guessing with that, what you're paying is cheaper at the retail counter. And the only thing that I would encourage you, and this is kind of a more high level thing. So if you're brand new to Etsy and you're just trying to figure things out, don't tune into this for a second. But there are outside shipping sources. Like I know one of them is ShipStation. One of them I think is like Pirate Ship or something. I'm pretty sure that's what it was because it was like a punny name. And they do offer a few different kinds of shipping where you can still print the label at home and it's still giving you those commercial rate discounts. So that might be something that I would look into. One of those, and sometimes they have like a fee, like a monthly fee or something. They're not usually very expensive. For me, it has never been worth it because the prices were not a big enough difference. It was maybe like, let's say 30 or 50 cents per label cheaper. And so it didn't really matter to me that much. If it ends up being a bigger cost, like say it saves you $5 a box, then it becomes really more worthwhile. So that might be something that I would look into. Again, if you are brand new to Etsy, do not listen to that at all because it's very overwhelming. All right, let me scroll up just a second. Whitney says, how do we put in the free shipping over $35? So this is something that you do in the, let me look here so I can get the exact name of it. You go into marketing and then you go sales and coupons. And then you do a new coupon, a new special offer, and you can run a sale is what you do. And then you do free standard shipping. You also, I forgot to say this earlier when I was talking about international things. When you do this, it gives you the option to click domestic only. So free standard shipping, domestic only, and then you can click the order total, $35, and that's how you set that up. I can do like a little screenshot of that too because I went through that kind of fast. But I'll have to do that later. I can't do it while I'm in the video. All right. Lisa says, this is what I need help with. I have a GoDaddy domain and I need to make that my Etsy store. I will have to address that at a different time. I can't walk you through that right now. But that is something that I'm going to talk about soon because I've had that question a lot. All right, so Vicki says, yes, retail ground is about $17. So there you go. And that is why it is so important to know, because if you were saying, even with those shipping rates that, or the shipping labels, the Etsy shipping labels, $35 versus $17 if she did not know that that $17, I'm sorry, I don't know if I read the comment. Vicky says retail ground is about $17 depending on where you're shipping to. So if she didn't know that that was an option, she would be like, I have $35 in shipping costs and there's no other way for me to ship it. So if you run into that and you're finding that it is just too expensive to ship it and you're like, my hands are tied, I can't do this, it may be good to go into your post office and say, how can I ship this? How can I make this work? Or then maybe go to FedEx, maybe go to UPS and say, what are my options here? Because they're not all going to be listed. I mean, if you've ever been to the post office, they ask you like a million different ways to ship things. So it is so important for you to know those options. And I have seen so many people who are shipping things at a higher level of shipping than they need to be just because they don't know what's available to them. And I would have been one of those people with that size box, Vicky. So thank you for pointing that out because that is a really important point. Brandy says, I'm shipping frames and I'm concerned about breakage of the glass part of the frame. Just wondering if you have any advice for this. You know, I think maybe my advice might be to like go to a FedEx or UPS store and give them just the item. Now, this is going to be more expensive to do at one time, but it would give you an idea of how to do it because they will wrap it for you. So maybe just ask them like, how would you wrap this? What would you do to make sure that this doesn't get broken? Especially if it's like the middle of the afternoon and they're not that busy, they may be willing to help you walk through how you can package that to make sure that it doesn't get broken. Otherwise, it's just going to be trial and error, but you know, you don't want to be shipping something that's big and heavy and showing up broken because you're going to lose a lot of money. So in that case, I would definitely over package rather than under package. And for things that are really fragile, again, look at your competition, look who your competition is, because if I were ordering something that was really heavy and really fragile, as a buyer, I would not necessarily expect free shipping. So if that is the industry that you're in and nobody else is doing it, then don't worry as much about those shipping costs. It's just something that is not going to be as applicable to you because your products just aren't going to fit that way and people are not going to be expecting it because your competition is not doing it. So it really, really, really depends on what you're selling and what your industry is. Let me scroll up here. Maggie says, I got a UPS account and it has beat USPS prices. I ship large windows. So if you are shipping those heavier items, USPS UPS might be the more economical way to go. I know with people with big boxes, like size-wise, not necessarily weight-wise, UPS can be a lot cheaper. The USPS gets really expensive as you get into those bigger boxes. All right. I don't know. I don't see any other questions. So I am going to wrap this up. We got in from vacation at 2 o'clock in the morning this morning. So I am going to go to bed after a very long day. I hope that this has been helpful to everyone. Again, if you have any questions, please leave those questions in the group. I would love to have you join that group if you're not already. It's called Etsy Roadmap by Lauren Keplinger. And we will have an ongoing discussion about this in the group, I'm sure, for the next few weeks before they implement it. So again, I hope that this has been helpful and thank you guys for coming and I will see you really soon. Good night.